Hello my crafty friends, Corrine here from Corrine Crafts. I hope you are well. Now today's video came from a slightly different direction. The reason I'm making this is because I was able to pick up a little wax melt kit from quite an unexpected retailer, and it's so pretty, but the main thing is it works. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, but that meant I was making wax melts. I was making wax melts with the beads that came with it. I got gold, green. Sorry, I did a second gold one. So I just thought I needed a really simple card to put them on. And this is the card that I made. Really, really pretty, really, really simple. But I'm going to talk you through the making of my wax seals. You can see the lovely indentations on there and the designs. So let's have a look at how I made this and where I got the kit from. The purpose of this project is to show you a different wax melt burner. This is one I got. Isn't this pretty? Look at this lovely minty green. Now I bought this from a very unexpected place. It's a place I go into. It's somewhere that we have in the UK. It says it's all over the world, and I'm guessing it is because they've got prices in all sorts of different currencies on the side. So it's a place called Sewstring Green, and they do lots of home products, but they have quite a few craft items. And in there I bought this wax seal kit, and you get the lovely little wax burner and a lovely little silicone mat and obviously your little spoon. Now the reason I wanted to get this was the one I currently use from Crafter's Companion. As soon as you sit this onto there, it snuffs out the flame because there isn't enough of an airflow around it. Pretty little design, but not very well designed, not very good shape. It just doesn't. This one's got all these holes in, so even when you put that on there, there is still enough oxygen getting to the candle underneath that it doesn't snuff out. So that's why I wanted to get it. While I was there, they had another little kit, this one, and this one had wax beads in, two of the little seals and a different spoon. I think I might have swapped those spoons out because I think that one probably came in that and this one came on here, so we'll use that one on there. So I'm going to show you how I use them. That's my piece of card I'm going to use, but we'll put that to one side for a minute. Let's get the wax melts doing. So I'm going to get my candle lit. There we are. Typical. Didn't want to light. There we go. Now you can see that lights brilliantly. I've just got a regular tea light in there, and I've also put it onto the little silicone mat, and I can drop that on here, and you can see, look, it's lit up. You can see there is absolutely no problem with the airflow around this. So I just think that's fantastic. So let's get some of these wax melts. Now they are fractionally smaller than some others that I've got, but only fractionally. So I'll do 5 and see where we go from there. So I'm going to leave that to melt. Now while that's melting, the other thing I'm going to bring in is I've got my silicone mat. Now I don't think 5 is big enough for this, but actually because I've made the others, I'm going to make them the same size. But it's still a handy mat to work your seals onto. And then let's have a go. I've got this, look, you can see that lovely floral. I'm going to bring that up so you can see, hopefully you can see that. Look at that lovely pretty down. They're very delicate. Now I've also found this one, which is one I demonstrated on Crate Craft years ago. It's got a heritage seal, so I've got that. So I've made one using that, but I'm just going to show you how I do this. Oh look, that's starting to melt already. I'll shut up, I'll let that go, and we'll just speed that up, and then we'll come back when that's all melted. Okay then, so that is all melted. I have actually dropped an extra wax bead into there, so I did just need to leave that to do. So you can see, if I give it a stir with my pokey tool, it's lovely and melted. Now I find that the more you can melt it, then the better it is for making your seals. Now obviously you can make these directly onto your project, but I like to do them, as I've shown you, onto my silicone mat. So that's nice and hot. I'm just going to pour it onto the silicone mat, and it will just pour straight out. Try and get that quite central. There we go. All the way. Because I've heated it up, I'm not having to rush too fast because it's not about to cool down. And then all I do is get my little seal and I press it down into there. As I say, it's not going right to the edges, but I'm not too concerned. So this I'll just put back on there. So I just leave that, make sure that's nicely melted. I get a piece of wipe or something and I just scoop it out just like that. And then it's clean and ready to go for next time. There we go. Just leaving that to set for 1 second. Oh, blow out the candle. And we're done. Oh, I've just unscrewed the handle. That was silly of me, wasn't it? There we go. Ready to go for next time. Let's have a look at this then. So let's just make sure that's pressed down. Oh, look at this. They're very delicate, these ones. But, oops, that just wants a second longer to set. But if I bring that up, you can see that lovely detail on there. Isn't that absolutely perfect? There we go. Let's bring that out. Then you can see that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous with that little detail in there? Loving that. Now, I've made a couple more, as you knew I would. I made some out of the green on there. And then I did some with some white and I swirled some green through. But actually, as pretty as that is, I can save it. I might actually do that. So I've already got a gold one. I might actually use those colours for my 3, I think. So do it like that. That looks good to me. Okay, so that's what we're going to use. So I think we should make the card. And this is a stamp set from All and Create. You've got this flower child on here, which is really lovely. It's called Flower Kiddo. There we go. But this is the one I use. I don't think I've really used much of the others, but I use this one quite a bit. So I'm going to bring myself a mat in. Put that round like that. I'm going to pop that onto a stamp. There, I put it on a bigger stamping block because it was touching the edges, so I thought it might not. It would get ink on the bumpers, so that wouldn't work very well when I was stamping. So stamp it up. I'm just using my Memento in Tuxedo Black. It's a really lovely one for crisp stamping. And I'm just going to turn that round and I'm just going to stamp it on the edge. Just there. Look at that. The quality of these stamps are lovely. And I think this was like a lucky bag. I'm going to stamp it again. And this time I'm going to stamp it on this side, just over the halfway mark. Let's go about there. Okay. There we are. Look at that. Absolutely perfect stamping every time. Okay, so I think we should start matting and layering this onto my card. So I've got quite a few layers. I love putting layers on, so this is what we're going to be doing. So I've got a card blank. It's just a regular shop bought 6-inch card blank, and that's going to be our base. And onto there, I'm going to put some green. So I've picked a green that I thought worked really, really well with my green wax seal. I love wax seals on cards. They just look so good. As I said, you could be making these wax seals directly onto your project. The only problem I find with that is if the wax seal doesn't work, it's on your project. Whereas I find if you mess up putting the seal on it or doing anything like that, then just pop it, and you've done it on a silicone mat, you can pick it back up and then you can just pop it back in your mold, you know, your little dish, and melt it again and start again. So that is why I like to do them away from the project, just in case it goes wrong. And yeah, they're remeltable. Right, white next. There's a little mark on this card. That's annoying. So I think I'll get my glue eraser. Let's press that down. And it's a little bit of glue, I think. It's not totally gone, but it's mostly gone. Let's just give that a rub. There we go. So just doing a few nice layers. So after that, I'm then going to do a little bit of craft, and you'll see why, because craft's going to all tie in a minute. For me, the layers make it. Now, I know there's some card designs where you don't do layers, and that's absolutely perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. But I like my layers. 'Cause, I mean, just look at that already. Just over 1/8 of an inch on each layer. Now, this is the one we've just done. So we're going to pop that onto here. And I've got a little bit of foam tape under there. And then I've got a white layer as well, because I do like white on white. So we can put that on there. Oh, I haven't got very far into those corners there, did I? That's the most important thing, is that you get your corners, otherwise it lifts. And then we can put that on there. And the reason I use tacky glue is so when it leaks just a little bit like that, I'm able just to squeeze it off. And again, you know, if it's not straight first time, I can just turn it round. There we go. Right, so as we frequently do, let's get a stamping block. Put a stamping block over there, lift it out of the way, something heavy on top. Okay, so what we're going to do next, I'm going to do this, take this piece back. And I have just cut myself a couple of pieces of craft card. So I've cut a strip and then a smaller strip. And on this strip, I've just stamped Bright and Beautiful. This is from this apple blossom. Now, I don't know where I got this from. I can't remember whether I bought this at the NEC or whether I bought it second-hand off Lou Collins. I can't remember. But they are very small. Look how small they are. But for this, it works really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that just on here. So I've cut it. So I never actually said this piece of card is 4 3/4 inches. So I've cut this to 4 3/4 inches. But my craft card is 5 inches. So I just cut that little strip at the same length so that it'll overhang. I thought that would look nice. So let's put the craft card on. Remember, craft card is very absorbent, so it will soak up your glue. So put that there. So I'm actually putting it closer to the right hand one. And then I'm going to put this one, which I've put a little bit of foam tape on. Just like that. Let's just put a little bit of glue on in case I drop it or anything. And then we're going to pop that just on the end. If I can get that equidistant, once it goes onto the card blanket, it'll be perfect. There we go. Bit of interest. String. This is like a baker's twine. It's just a butcher, to call it butcher's twine. So I'm going to turn that over, and you can see I put some in between my foam tape. I put a little bit of red liner. So what we're going to do is, come on, pull off. I always say if you don't burnish it, it doesn't pull off, does it? So let's turn this back over because we don't want that to move. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a bit of too long. And I'm just going to pop that there, pop that round, wrap, and then I'm going to cut. Now I'm not going to tie it just yet. And the reason I've cut it so long is because I want to wait for a minute. So those are going to be tied. And now I've got this twine on, I can stick it onto my card base. I have actually cut that far too long. I don't need to put any tape over the top of that. If you don't want to, if you want to, all you need to do is get another little bit of tape, take that off, and then put a little piece over the top, just like that. And that twine's not going anywhere whatsoever. So let's bring in the card base that's just had the heavy weight on it. So we can bring in this, and we can take this off here. It's nice to make things slightly different shapes and different dimensions, isn't it? It's just, and again, trying to do some cards that aren't quite as big, because my cards were all, I used to thrive on 8-inch cards, which I don't seem to make many at the moment. I mean, I'm enjoying this, a 6-inch card. Again, this could have been a rectangular card, because I know in the US you prefer rectangular cards. And it's not two-dimensional to be a problem with posting. So let's make sure my twine's on the top. And then we can pop that just there. And when I lift that up, you see, this craft piece just runs perfectly to match that. And then you've got this piece here. So I'm going to just move this, and I'm going to bring in my wax seals. So I'm going to go those 3 colours. Now, this is where it's slightly different because we've already finished with the wax seals. They're not going to be self-adhesive, are they? So what we need to do is we need to stick them on. Now, there's lots of different ways. I've known people use sticky dots. I tend to use hot glue, but you have to be careful because your hot glue is going to melt your wax seal. So make sure you're happy with where you've got it, because you don't want to have to mess around with them. Just making sure these are the right way up. The seal is actually quite light, but it's there. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to just capture it over that string. So put a little blob of glue, not too big, hot, like I say, hot glue gun. Put that one on so the string's running underneath. Then I'm going to do the second. Now, if I wanted to, let's put it on here. If I wanted to do them equidistant, I'd do the top and the bottom ones, but no, I don't. I want them more down to the bottom. I want there to be a gap at the top. So let's do the third one. And put that there. And then that one can go there. Now I've got that there. I'm going to tie a little bow. I just wanted the bow at the top of the seals. Come on, go back under. That's it. Just like that. Quite sort of rustic. You could actually just seal it off and then stick a bow on, you know, a tied bow. But I wanted to try and do it right. There we go. And then I can just trim off. There we go. Now, this top tip, what I would then be doing is a little bit of tacky glue. I just tie it, tiniest blob, my tacky glue is nearly all gone, over the top. And that means that that bow won't come untied and that will dry really, really clear. So we're nearly there. It's a really simple card. So the last thing I'm going to do is let's use these. I've got, let's have a look in my gems. Let's have a look what's in here. I think there's different sizes. Let's have a look. Oh, they're all the same. I'm actually going to use, let's tip some into here. Nope, they are definitely all the same size. That's absolutely fine. We can work with that. So what I might just do is I might get my precision glue gun. Is an alternative to using gems is you could have done some splats on your card before you finished. But I decided I would rather use gems. So I'm just going to, these are non-adhesive gems. So I'm just going to put a couple of little bits like that. Gem pickup tool. Pick it up and put it on the adhesive. Gem pickup tool onto the adhesive and onto the adhesive. Is that enough? I think it is. I think it is. And that is the card. Actually, I need to, that's too long. There we go. It's all about the wax seal. Right, so isn't that a little bit of fun? A different way to be using your wax seals. Just nicely making them the focal point, a little bit of craft, a little bit of stamping, and there you go. That is how I would display my wax seals, something a little bit different. But the whole point of this was I picked up this wax seal melt pot, which I absolutely love. I love the colour. I love the little heat resist mat. I don't know whether it's actually designed for you. I wonder if it's supposed to go that way so you can, no, it doesn't feel like it's going that way. I think that's just basically a heat resist mat, but you could be putting your wax seals onto there. You'd get lovely texture from them, but it doesn't go out when you put your little spoon on the top, which I think is amazing. I got the second one with the gold beads. and the green wax beads, which are really lovely. So, you know, have a look round. And whilst you're out and about, you might find another really good place that you can pick up your crafty supplies from. And it doesn't always have to be your traditional craft retailer. So that was the whole point of this today. I went into SewStream Green and I found a wax kit that I really, really liked. Aesthetic, and it works really, really well, better than my existing one. So win-win. I couldn't have asked for any more. So I'm going to leave it there for you today. As always, on the left will be another video, and on the right will be my subscribe button. And as always, there will be links down at the bottom to things that I've bought recently from Amazon. So if any that you can click, that would be really brilliant. Thank you so much. So until next time, my crafty friends, you take care. Enjoy your crafting. Please don't forget to share your crafty makes with me, and I will be back very soon. Bye for now.